this afternoon's readings. One of the themes of today's programme is that of collective practices in small press publishing. So this event focuses on the collaboration between three individuals, Angie Butler, Pat Randle and S.J. Fowler, and two presses, Nomad Letterpress and AB Press. The work that they produced, the Hyphen is a Dagger, is a letterpress printed original poetry sequence in an edition of 80 and is launched at this year's fair. A distinctive, eccentric and playful work of literature, the Hyphen is a Dagger is a product of a unique, ground-up, collaborative project between printers and poets. Working in cahoots from scratch, this publication was made with its specific letterpress production as a constraint and guide. Using only wood-lettered typefaces from the stores of the legendary Whittington Press in the heart of the Cotswolds, and working to vocabularies available from the letters on hand, the poems were written by Fowler to be then edited while being set across a series of collaborative impress sessions over 2022 and 2023. The poems themselves relate to the place of their making, centring around the real-life crusader Sir Richard de Croup, whose tomb adjoins the press in Whittington Court. Guillaume, the hero of the story, was the first recorded troubadour. For print aficionados, the text is buffeted with labels of each typeface used from the Doolittle collection of 1888. This publication is a rare example of what is possible when contemporary writers and printers work together with a simultaneous purpose. So please welcome Pat Randle and Stephen J.
Thank you so much, Brian. That's really kind of you. Yeah. We're really happy to be here. And what's so nice about this room and the programme of these readings is the intimacy, and that we are here. So we're going to be very informal rather than performative. And we're going to have a little chat about the process to just further on the lovely words that Brian had about what we're doing. Yeah. And then we're going to read the text and then a little Q&A. And that's it, really.
We should say that Angie's not here. She's poorly, which is a shame because she's done all the printing here, and we're stealing her glory, really, aren't we?
We are.
And Angie's actually starts off the book with her illustration too of the crusader lying tomb. So that is the work of Angie Butler. And yeah, should we start off with a bit about the process?
Yeah, definitely. And I would like to say also, because Angie's not here and this is being filmed, I can be nice about Angie. She won't throw up violently over this beautiful room and floor. She is the reason why we're friends.
That's right, yeah.
And this process has made us friends. It is a product of true collaboration as a kind of friendship act. We wouldn't have done it unless we become fast friends, and that's because of Angie. She's so kind and curatorial. She literally found me and found Pat.
Well, I think it was here that we met, wasn't it?
Could have been.
Probably 3 or 4 fairs ago.
Well, she started this project called the Printed Poetry Project at UWE, where she works, and her idea was to create the kind of thing that we've ended up doing in this publication, which is to match people who have the skills of production and press and design physically on the floor with people who are writing, instead of a relationship which is illustrative or productive, i.e. I'll write poems, Pat will print them, or Pat has a project and I write the words and commission everything together. And that's kind of Angie's vision,
yeah.
and we owe her that. So even though she's unwell today, Angie, we love you very much. Thank you so much.
It's very true. And
now you feel bad, Angie. So I would like to start by asking you, Pat, how is this project different for you? Because your world's so different from mine. You spend all day in this amazing, legendary workshop printing. How is this different?
Well, I'm going to start with the first spread of text that we've used. So the whole book is printed from wood type, and wood type, we're letterpress printers. I down talk or simplify what we do, but each piece of wood is 0.918 inches high, and it exists in a case full of maybe 3 or 4 of the same characters of each letter. And so I'll pick up on a word that Brian used, which is restriction. And you came up with a poem whilst we were spending time at Whittington, didn't you? And you spoke the poem out to us whilst me and Angie picked up out the letters from the cases, working through case to case. And there were occasions whereby we might run out of a certain character, an E or an H, and that would mean that the word might need to be changed, which you happily were happy to do. Or it might mean that we moved on to a different typeface. So you can see the big bold expanded typeface here. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 words from that typeface. And so it's a specific block of text that you spoke that we had to use. I hope I'm making sense there. So the restriction of the process really engendered what was possible with your words and the limitations. And so you must have found that challenging.
It was incredibly pleasurable for me because one of the things I teach is constraint-based writing. And I'm not a strict constraint-based writer, the RuPaul, the formal traditions. I have no interest in that. My aesthetic is rather the opposite, chaos and weirdness. But I like constraints. There's a freedom in limitation. And what I found by accident, without any planning, that the nature of the process, which was communicative, collaborative, and physical, we were literally running across this freezing cold studio, picking out cases of dusty letters covered in filth, and being like, well, there's not a T, so we can't use toilet, should we use Bob? Is there a B? Is there a G?
Yeah.
And so that is like this amazing editorial constraint.
That's right, because you've got a finite number of characters and letters in each case. This collection came from the Cambridge University Press. There was a lady who rescued it from there and passed away, and luckily it fell into her hands. So it did have, probably a couple of decades worth of grime on top of it. And part of the exercise of doing this publication as well, from my selfish point of view, was to get onto ink a character from each of the cases that we've got, so I can slowly start to identify the cases and what exists there.
And that's really important to me because one of the big things that I wanted to do when working with Letterpress printers, which is a world I didn't know at all, didn't have a particular passion for, is to introduce a concept which again I talk about a lot in my teaching. I was just talking with a young man today who picked up my collage poems, and I was saying I didn't like collage for years until I realised the choice and the arrangement of materials was my writing. So the originary nature of the text, which seems to underpin nearly all of the thinking around poetry, is just an element of poetry to me. So if you're writing a constraint poem, your creativity is the constraint as well as the words you choose. So suddenly I'm in a relationship with someone who's saying, how about purple ink? Well, that is massively significant in terms of the creative content of the letter or the word that is printed in purple. Now it's the purple word that is still the word. And that's something I'm really attracted to, is balancing context with content. So we had these conversations from the start of like, what paper? And they'd look at me as though I'm like, white paper? And that's where it's really truly collaborative, and a lot of people maybe don't perceive it like that, right?
No, exactly. Yeah. And as printers, usually in our work, we try to print as finely as possible, getting each character to print to its maximum capability. I should say, from a time constraint, that was another constraint-based situation we found ourselves in. It was really over a few weekends, wasn't it, that we worked on this thing, and it's quite time-consuming working in this way. So when we came to the printing stage, we really tried not to be too fussy about if there was chunks missing out of letters, for example, or some of these are showing the signs of former use by students in a workshop. And I think someone came up, it's not my expression, but a posh way of saying the type spot is to say swearing the patina of age. I saw that in the colophon once.
I said that about
people printing.
Yeah.
It excuses it slightly. So yeah, we try not to be too precious, don't we? We've got to move on in the print shop as a way of putting it.
And that to me is a beautiful part of the process too, because I'm not precious at all about anything I've ever done in life and in poetry both. And so Pat having this responsibility of constantly printing these exquisite, commissioned, high-end books in limited editions, obviously it made me delighted to see your skin slightly curdle when I'm like, whatever, it'll be bog, use that when it's broken. It's like, yeah, that's fine, I suppose. Did you find it easy?
Yeah, it was nice to be able to let go. Yeah. And sometimes you need to in life, don't you?
Yeah.
I should say as well, we made this grid beforehand, didn't we? So the grid was the idea that it's a 60M grid, and it's a unit of measurement that we work with in printing. And we tried to fit all of the words into that grid structure, but we didn't quite manage it on occasion, did we? And actually the centrefold was all about breaking free from that grid and just going for it all the way across the page.
And it's the first time I've ever seen it yesterday. So for me, it's this experience of having, what, 3 or 4 days in a freezing cold, legendary Whittington studio with Pat's press and with Angie driving from Bristol, and just spending days together, making, changing the words, printing, choosing the paper, worrying about how much money it'll cost and where we'll get that from, running out of time. Pure process to produce this thing.
And Angie came up with the illustration, didn't she? And so the way that we were able to print this is by, if we get a PDF from a piece of artwork, we can get a raised magnesium plate made. So we're impressing the magnesium plate of Crusader there.
And we happen to find this tomb next door as well, sorry.
That's right, yeah.
The amazing tiny church behind Pat's studio, which is just such a remarkable cavern, like a little cave of printing treasures that smells of ink, which you said yesterday you felt has damaged your brain over the years.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Someone else said that, I think.
Oh well, I would never say that. But behind it is this genuine Crusader's tomb. And I, just by chance, on the first day we got together, had just done a reading in Poitiers and read about the first ever troubadour happened to be a crusader. A proper madman.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And just after we arrived, we found this tomb, and just found out about this troubadour crusader. All of these things kind of came together.
Yeah, they're Norman crusaders, aren't they? And from the 1100s. So the church is from the 1400s, so I don't quite know how they got there. It must have been lying in the field for 300 years before the church was built. So yeah, so this is poem that you wrote. Well,
Thank you.
Should we do the reading?
Let's do it. Yeah. I will read and Pat will show.
So this one, that one's the unstitched one. Should I say that?
The hyphen is a dagger. Guillaume IX, troubadour crusader. Guillaume cries to his horse, "The queen is dead, long live the king. No help is coming. I should have brought a dog. He the high-born into its villainy in the Cotswolds. His pal Richard de Croups welcomed him to Whittington. The crusaders next door, gallant turtle birds, converge to collaborate, confrères. Troubadours remember wars in Outremer. Grand banquet. A sword is drawn from a scabbard. Toast. The mace is a symbol for the semicolon. The dirk a hyphen. Ventilate the false. They dine on cold canapes and creamy bonbons. Peasants serve knights drink. Bladdered he curses. PTSD. You English, no smells, no sulphur, no temptation. An entity hears and appears. Bang! It is an angel, Angela, or a saint, Patrick, neither. Behold, demonic Asmodeus, the beaked chicken devil, Doom. Guillaume wails, "Begone, fiend, lust is poetry divine and not yours to give. I fornicate in God's name, fine dining, my holy words do banish thee, and thy ugly whelp. Onions, valor." But the demon grins and gives paper and shows its babe proof. The dark gift of print, that holy words. Won't work. For letters are but flies. God's ornament. Thank you. expect none, but we thought we'd open it up to just a question or two, if you would like to ask a question.
I was about to turn it off. Maybe if you don't need one until she comes back.
How do you decide what words and phrases you're going to put in it? Like, the pages are so well constrained and the letters fill it. How did you think, okay, we'll have ornaments in one massive type and one big page at the end, given the constraints of what the type was that you had?
Well, I think we made a decision to increase in size as we went through, didn't we? We started smallest. Started with the smallest that we had. But before this is you know, an inch high. But any lower than this and type becomes made out of lead. So that's the smallest wood type you can get. And I think as to which typeface suited which words, I think the length of the word really was the deciding factor, wasn't it?
I was left here with this editorial process of having to find words that fit spaces. So, you know, it was written by, ornament was written by the page.
Yeah, we had to fill the last page, didn't we? With one type, which was maybe how many characters we might. I gave you a limit of words.
You
I?
literally
Or
gave me
characters.
character limits for each page.
Yeah.
After we drafted it together and I went away and then we came back and we changed all those again. And it was constantly being edited by the scenario, which is amazing.
So the constraint of the last page was a word of 10 characters.
It's actually a great process because you've made stress at different points, depending on the typeface you found. It could be a completely different poem if you found a completely different Venus with the same words.
It's so much better than my drafts. I'm not being humble in saying that. The actual process of the days where we really came across the last thing, the idiosyncrasy of it, like the strange blend of the slightly historical and the more contemporary. A lot of that just came from the fact that it had to be something like that.
And it's a good exercise in displaying which typefaces say what to your soul, don't they? As you're speaking them, they really have a different language almost, different weights and serifs and non-serifs and bold and condensed. They all slightly strike a different chord.
Which is an education for me. Poets don't really worry about that too much, you know. The semantic content of the words are everything. You start to really then know that if you put that same word in a different typeface, the word is
I mean,
completely.
you wrote the whole text alongside that, talking about that. Those judgments are so, that's the context, what comes with each typeface is so huge. You've got a book.
I think that's right, absolutely.
Next one.
The next one, yeah, the next one. Let's do another one, yeah.
Do you write in the studio with material you from and then fix?
So the very first meeting, nothing. Wrote it while I was around Pat and Angie. Then it changed in between meeting 1 and 2, depending what the conditions. Then it changed with them. Then it was polished off. Then it changed with them a final time. So literally, in the same day that I was saying, they were saying, oh, maybe this colour, maybe it should go up in size, maybe this, what size paper? I'm making notes about the fact that we've just seen this Crusader tomb and I've got this notes from Poitiers. So that's so key to me, that everything should be written in situ and changed with people, because otherwise it is a bit illustrative. The semantics are ahead. And I think when people pick it up, that's why it's so special to have this event and have context. Again, it's not my poems, they are really collaborations, and how often would that happen with a letterpress? So it's pretty special.
Yeah, okay.
We are unusual.
Brilliant. It's a really interesting process. Thanks for both points to share.
Thanks so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
So you can find the Hyphens Dagger on the Nomad Letterpress store, which is next to the Conway Wall.